overnight you find that you are no longer rich enough to do it. So the solution, I think, in my opinion, would be to really work hard to make sure that we have at least a working refinery. That will mean that the gasoline could still be sold in dollar, but at least the cost of transportation wouldn't be there. And so buying it domestically will reduce the cost of gasoline. And additionally, if you know that gasoline is so important to the economy of any nation, especially us, then it couldn't just be left lying low like that and not even out of.
Well, another thing that now fuel marketers have met as one of the contributing factor to the fuel shortage is pipeline vandalism, and this has continued over time.
It's a difficult problem. Sometimes inadvertently when we try to solve problem, we create more problem. Contrary where I wanted to speak were strong human beings and that they were that. But in the process of doing that, these guys arrogate to themselves the power of life and death. They are the people guiding the pipelines. And there are other gangs too, like, the typical gangster behavior, who want to sabotage them and also want to share in what they are getting. I think that's where the conflict is coming from. There are other gangsters, like those past gangsters who now they are repented and Christian themselves, whatever they want. And the government playing into their hand and saying, well, we'll pay you, guide these things we are part of destroying in the event that maybe you could do it. Now, there are other group of gangsters that will also come up and say, well, we also want to be recognized and be paid some money. That's what is going on. So it's a tussle of two group of gangsters trying to peck from each other.
Yeah, but some, I can't remember who now. Let me just say maybe a stakeholder or some stakeholders have been called different states, different regions or states or areas.
Yeah, that's right. Even when you have a hot that other sense, that other direction of awarding the contract, because there's always that jealousy among human beings. Oh, we are from here, this thing is not this thing is not. It will be an effort worth trying.
All right. Well, of course, the Punch is reporting that Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, their officials reported that their satellite depot had not received any product shipments in the past 3 weeks due to pipeline vandalism. And they're saying this situation could impact not only Lagos, but also the broader southwest region. Oh, well, of course, that's where we'll draw a curtain on this particular segment. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, remember, we're asking a question. How best can the federal government execute this roadmap for the economy, looking at the 8-point agenda of the Tinubu administration that is geared towards reviving the country's ailing economy? Send those messages via WhatsApp to 0809 030 6416 0809 030 6416. Get on Facebook and on your Facebook info page. We'll be right back. Do stay tuned. It's still Talking Figures on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Time for insider tips. Now, we're looking at the unveiled 8-point agenda of the Tinubu administration to revive the country's ailing economy. And remember, the question we're asking is, how best can the federal government execute this roadmap for the economy? What do you think? All right, let's hear from you. Send those messages. The agenda of growth and job creation, access to capital, improving security, improving the playing field on which people and particularly companies operate, rule of law, and of course, fighting corruption. Now, just to circle back, and you remember that President Bola Tinubu on Monday gave the Federal Executive Council a marching order to begin the process of reviving the economy to make life more bearable for citizens. Now, that first-hand meeting he presided over at the council chambers of the President of Abuja considered the roadmap for the economy presented by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Wale. Now, speaking on the issue at the post-FEC, do examine priority areas and identified targets to deliver in the next 3 years. The priority areas are what I just listed. So President Bola Tinubu the other throughout policies and programs around the economy. So how best then can the federal government execute this roadmap that they have for the economy? Remember, I still have Dr. Deebi Nwiado in the studio with me. He is a financial economist with the Ignatius Ajuru University of Education. So, Dr. Nwiado, in your expert opinion, what are the most promising aspects of this 8-point agenda in terms of addressing the current economic challenges facing Nigeria?
Yeah, one of the things mentioned interestingly is poverty. They want to poverty alleviation. They also talk about food production.
In fact, they call it ending poverty.
Ending poverty.
Yes.
That's a great one. And ending poverty, they talk about economic growth and rule of law and all those things. Some of these are out of the scope of finance. When you look at this 8-point agenda, if you would permit me to say, they are a replication of what you've been hearing over the years.
Yeah, but then at the end of the day, the problems we have are still the same.
So it's just like something you hear almost on everyday basis. All the same, let's look at it. One of the major questions you ask is, how would they do it?
How best
would they do it? That is the approach. What will really matter in this situation is the approach they take to do these things. It is an old problem recycled. Now, take the issue of ending poverty. Mm-hmm. There have been a whole lot of noise about poverty and all those things. And one of the things I want to make us know today is that poverty is not an environmental problem. It's not something that arises from within the environment. Poverty is a mindset.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't have money to feed.
Yes, it's a mindset.
Is it in my mind?
No,
there's no money.
No,
there's no food.
Nah, just let me
get
to
healthcare.
Let me just get to where I'm going. You don't have money to feed, and you just sit down there and believe that something will happen, believing something will just happen. It will never happen. And there is this whole blanket of people who believed that way. And the reason I say poverty is a mindset is that even when you make money available to alleviate or to end poverty, you find that it doesn't get to where it's supposed to be. Let me give you an example. There's a couple of programs that have been given out to end poverty in this country, not only here. We had under Goodluck Jonathan, a whole lot of it. I can't remember some of their names now. There was in this state, Rivers State in particular, there was a school to land where when you are from school, you were given some money and asked to go do something so as to not to have that backlog of unemployed person, and that with this we can generate employment and get, or at least slip out of poverty to end it. Now, what happened? Take a typical example of where I come from. I came home and there were this program that was under Amechi. People were trained to do different stuff. Baking, sewing, name it. People were trained to use their hand to make money so as not to be poor. They were, at the end of the day, it was not just that they were trained, they were given accessories to do it. For example, those who were trained in baking were given oven and given
things that
cash.
Are called starter packs.
Yeah, exactly, starter pack. What happened to the starter pack? That's why I'm saying that it's a mindset. These guys received this in, you know what they did? They dispensed of it and took the cash into their pocket and went back to where they came from. At the national level, you had Osibanjo trying to going from market shop to the other, from one market shop to the other.
Trader money.
And giving money to people and say, look, invest and grow. No. The money was, as it turned its back, they used it to buy some other things that remain where they were. If you don't have the mindset to liberate yourself from poverty, that's the question I asked. And say, how are they going to do it? Because when you are dealing with a mindset problem, it's not an environmental problem. It's not something that arises from the environment. It is a mindset. And you are telling us you want to deal with the mind of the individual across the nation. That would be a fairly and uphill task. So what is the solution to poverty? That would be the question. Because this program regarding ending poverty seems to me a rhetoric. It's not for real because there have been several attempts. And what has happened?
What if the attempts so far, perhaps the approach of the past administrations actually was the problem?
Which approach? People were given. I mean, how else will you train somebody? I say, look, come, let me teach you how to do this. This is how to do it. Like I'm teaching you how to bake.
At least I'm not giving you fish. I'm teaching you how
Yeah,
to
I'm
fish.
teaching you. I'm teaching you how to bake bread. And if you bake bread and put it on the counter there, people will come and buy and you have money for yourself. Say, okay, thank you. Now, I've trained you. This is the machine with which we bake bread. Take. Now, take this money and buy some flour and some other baking tools. Take. See this stupid man. Did I tell you I want to know how to bake bread? And did I tell you that baking bread will be good for me?
So that brings us back to that other thing I mentioned about approach. Perhaps they needed to really find out from the people, what would you like to do?
That's why I told you that poverty is a mindset. What we cannot do is to teach people how not to do what they want to do. So what I think the solution would be is that instead of directing good money into bad projects, why not invest this money in some other things that will affect people directly, like giving primary health care in the communities where people, if you are ill, because one of the reasons why people, poverty becomes really obvious is what you said earlier on. I'm ill, I can't get to the hospital. So what if the primary health care is lifted up so you can access health care, you can access education at very little or no cost? Then poverty vents will now be closed instead of directing money to trader money that vanishes at the end of Osibanjo turning his back, and the money vanishes and people go back to where they were before.
Now, let's talk about one of the points in the agenda, another one which is job creation. I mean, if we're talking poverty, ending poverty or alleviating poverty, whatever the word they use these days, right? Job creation is actually seen as a critical concern for a lot of Nigerians. If we're talking poverty, usually when the talk of insecurity comes up, people say create jobs. When you talk about, there is poverty, they'll say create jobs. So it's like everything hinges on job creation, right? So how do you think the administration plans to achieve significant job growth, and what challenges might they face in doing so?
Yeah, it makes me, I am so relaxed when you're talking about these things because government does not create jobs. That's the notion we have here, that government create jobs and give jobs. You are sitting in Nigerian Info now. This is not a government institution. It is the private sector that creates the job. It is not government.
So what does the government do?
So if the government is telling the public that they are going to create jobs, that the government is not, frankly speaking, the truth. What government does, the laissez-faire economy says, if you see, let's say you see a pie chart and you put in this pie chart government and private sector. The pie chart is 360 degrees. Just give about 20% of that pie chart to the government, and the rest is the private sector. So what the government needs to do is to generate policies that will encourage investment.
So at the end of the day, even if the government gets 20% and the private sector gets the rest, so you find out that 20% has a lot of influence on what's going to happen with the rest. Because
the policies are not straight. The policies are not straight. There are lots of curves in these policies that is supposed to generate employment. If the right policy trust is made, that's what the government is supposed to do, is to guide the economy, the actions in the economy, and allow the market to grow. So if the market is growing, that is where the job is created. But we have this impression that the government will create all the jobs. And the moment you say no, government cannot do that, or that Republican is always accusing the Democrat of large government. We have very large government in Nigeria, and that what they were supposed to be doing, they are not doing. The policies are failing because they carry things, they carry load they cannot. How can you expect government to be going to invest in transportation? It's everywhere. They go into everything that they are not supposed to do. Foreign governments are investing in things that are supposed to be in the private sector. It's not that we are picking it onto our shoulders. And then you have skewed policies that can't really direct private investment and encourage foreign investors to come in. That is where the job comes from. It is not government. It is not one of the things that government carry to bring job home. That's not what government does. Government is supposed to secure policies that will create the right market environment, policies that will encourage people with funds to come in, policies that will direct the individual who has money to know where to invest and how to invest it. Like we are talking about the stock market now. Mm-hmm. These are some of the things that government could do. What is the right policy concerning the stock market? How do we make the stock market function? Because there's a whole lot of jobs in the stock market. The whole lot of the brokers, a whole lot of things to be done. The brokers in their offices, those who work with the brokers, the market itself, and so on and so forth. That's just an example of how the private sector could generate this. The government put their fingers in everything and get so wet and get blustered. And because they're so blustered, that's why everybody wants to be a local government, what is it called? Councillor. Everybody wants to be a chairman. Nobody wants to go do anything outside being the chairman. So you see people haggling around every individual that has any linkage with it because the government sector has become so big. Now, how do we bring maize into this country? What is concerned with farming in this country where one bag of feed is so expensive that a crate of eggs is more than 2,000 naira? That is where the problem lies.
About 2,700 and 2,900 naira.
Exactly. So, if you were, a poultry farmer, what will you be doing in a situation like that? That is where the policy trust is failing. How do we bring you are talking of food shortage? There's insecurity.
I was going to ask that because even with the policies and there's insecurity, which of course, whatever sweet policies the government comes up with, if insecurity is still
because they miss what they are supposed to be doing. The government means what they are supposed to be doing, and so dabble into what they are not supposed to do. The security that is part of the economy, that should grow the market, that should grow the employment, is just not there. And they are leaving that to want to go in and do private investment in the private sector. Who are the bureaucrats? Do they know about investment? One of the things that run an investment successfully is management. Those in the civil service don't know anything called management. So they cannot do it successfully. What makes a firm fail is management. It's not that you're read finance. No. Most of those in the government don't know anything called management. And yet they are the people who go and head firms and call it parasata. There were this time in Rivers State where we had a whole lot of things called government. What are they? Rebank Insurance, Pan-African Bank, Parboiled Food, blah, blah, blah. Pan-African. Where are they? Because they were run by civil servants. They all failed. That is the channel of job creation. Assuming that these things were allowed to grow and run by private sector, they would have been here today.
So you think that even if the government decides to create job per se, once they start off whatever, they should hand it over to the private sector?
Well, how in the first instance would they create job? Where is their school to land? That is where who managing? How did they get to? Where is their Bank Insurance in Rivers State? Where are all the other things I've tried to do? Because the civil servants who start these things don't even allow it to grow. When you are appointed as what they call a managing director, they say, right, that's your own turn. And they start looting these things. In a situation where government establishments are looted by civil servants, then that cannot generate jobs.
Okay, you talked about agriculture when you mentioned the price of egg, how the price of feeds is also affecting the price of egg. Part of what the agenda, the 8-point agenda, has is measures to boost agriculture and food security. Now, what I want to know from you is how can these initiatives be effectively implemented, to achieve the desired results? And then you've also talked about the private sector. How can the private sector come in?
The private sector is the real engine of the economy.
All right.
It could be a small firm employing 3 persons. It could be a medium-sized firm employing up to 50 persons. It could be large, multinational. The right environment, what it's like you go to Silicon Valley. When you get to Silicon Valley, it's all technology. You move from this door, you go there, there's another form of technology, just like at the Silicon Valley in the US. Now, if the right environment exists within an industry, you see more firms coming into that industry. That's what's happened. And within that industry, if you get to Silicon Valley, there's all types of engineers, tiny engineers, big ones, all sort of technicians doing one thing or those are the jobs we are talking of. Now, if the government keep wanting to do everything and not even allowing people to exercise themselves because they become so overarching, even government they want to give all the contract to build airport and you just watch them and it becomes so messy. Which is the government now? Where is the government and where is the private sector? This affair didn't say that. Where is the government? Where is the private sector? Where is the line anymore? So you just sit down and keep quiet, just watch them as if they are dancing some useless dance in the town square. Because they're not doing anything. And they just jump up in the noise and say, this is recycled reasoning that we've been hearing over and over and over. Who has actually been able to penetrate these things? We want managers. See the Nigerian Airways.
So one of the things you mentioned, you talked about how civil servants who are perhaps the ones who are given the opportunity to head some of the parastatals or even the businesses that government starts, they end up looting. So this brings me to the rule of law, which is part of what this agenda is, another key aspect of this 8-point agenda. What impact can the rule of law have on the economy? Give us an idea,
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just an economist. But I will suppose that if the rule of law prevails, then it means if you are found guilty of an offense relating to fraud, relating to mismanagement of whatever you are given, then you should be put in prison. That's how. And then there will be a precedent that, look, Mr. A did this and he was arrested, judged, and sent to prison. But here is the opposite. Okay, if somebody is trying to say, I will do that, let's see how he does it. Because over the years, we've seen situations where people looted the government treasury, run down government establishments, and then is standing tall, going around with all this money and calling himself rich. So the rule of law comes in there because there now, we can say, you see, Mr. A stole something and the government took him to court and he was judged and sentenced to prison. But this is directly the opposite here. So if this government says they want to do that, hallelujah, thank God we have somebody who can stand up to bad behavior.
Interesting. Well, let's get to the phone lines now. Remember, it's not just about talking figures; it's about shaping them. So, do us, share your wisdom and let's explore this game plan together. So, what we're asking this afternoon is, how best can the federal government execute this roadmap that they have for the economy? There's an 8-point agenda, and you've been listening to my conversation with Dr. Nwiado. What do you think is the best way they can actually achieve this plan for the economy? The numbers to call are 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0002, or 0817-923-0007, 0817-923-0007. You can as well send a message via WhatsApp to 0809 030 6416, 0809 030 6416. We're live on Facebook, so get on there and let's hear from you. Get on Facebook now. It's Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Odima on WhatsApp says, Constance, good afternoon. As far as I am concerned, APC, the president, and their cabinets are just playing to the gallery. They have no intentions of achieving any 8-point agenda. If actually they are serious of achieving anything, what is the roadmap to whatever achievements they intend to achieve? All is just normal APC stories after stories since 2015 till date. You say Bola Tinubu's presidency is not going to offer much. You say he cannot offer what he does not have. And that's from Odima. Odima, you've not answered my question. How best can they do this? Are you saying they should fold their arms and watch that there's no need to do anything? But if you believe that there is something that can be done, what do you think is the best way to get this done? 0817-923-0002. 0817-923-0002. Hello. Turn off your radio set, please. Good afternoon. All right, Emma, we're listening. Welcome to Talking Figures. Go on.
Yes, I want to disagree with the economist.
Emma, did you hear the question? Point. Hold on, Emma. Did you hear the question?
No, I want to build on his comment that poverty is a mindset. So poverty is not a mindset.
Okay, Emma. So this is how it's going to work, all right? I would like to hear from you. I want to get your opinion based on the question that I have asked you. I'm not asking you to react to what my analysts has said. No, that's not what this conversation is about, please. How best can the federal government execute their roadmap for the economy? Remember, they've got an 8-point agenda, and I've read them out to you before now. Food security is there, ending poverty is there, economic growth, job creation, access to capital, improving security, improving the playing field on which people and, of course, particularly companies operate, the rule of law, and fighting corruption. So I'm asking, how best do you think that the federal government can execute this for the economy? That is the question. Thank you very much. Hello?
Yeah,
all right, we're listening. Go on.
Yeah, my sister, I don't have anything to do. It's for us to pray for the federal government, but I know whatever thing they want to do, they will achieve it. When you talk about the roadmap, my sister, most times they come to promise, they do not do, but I believe this particular federal government will do something good with our prayer. Me, I'm going to pray for them. I don't want to say anything. I'm going to pray for them to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Ida from Nkoro. So he says prayer is the key. How about you? What do you think the federal government can do, and for you, that will be the best approach they can use to ensure that this agenda they have for the economy will be achieved? 0817-923-0002. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Welcome to Talking Figures. What's your name?
My name is Emmanuel. I'm calling you from Uganda.
All right, Emmanuel. I'm listening. Turn off your radio set, please.
Government should give us life. That is the major contribution they can give us, so that it can create employment for us, all of us. There are people that are skilled in that form, in that way. Giving them life, we help them provide job and create job for some other people. Not by this, their 8-point agenda. This so-called government, they are in this government since 1995 today. And they have not done anything. Thank you.
All right, thank you for calling. Hello?
Hello.
Welcome. What's your name?
My name is Stanley Clement, calling from Element.
All right, Stanley, go on.
I think the advice I have to give the presidency is that if only they can allow the refinery to work, I think Nigerians will give this administration as the best administration. Honestly, because you see, oil, PMS affects every sector in this country. All the sectors. So once, if only that refinery will work, I think the workload on the president will even reduce.
All right. Thank you very much. Talking figures. Oh, my goodness. Please do well to press 007 and 0817-923-0002. It's Talking Figures, and we're looking at the 8-point agenda of the Tinubu administration with a view to fixing the economy. What do you think is the best way they can use to ensure that 8-point agenda sees the light of day? Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
I'm Michael, calling from Port Harcourt.
All right, Michael, we're listening.
Okay. I want to speak on the ending poverty and job creation.
Okay.
Okay. Taking it from the perspective or the angle of job creation, just like your guest mentioned, government cannot create jobs for its citizens, just the government alone. That is why the private sector comes in. The private sector helps to create more jobs and people are employed, and by so doing, they are eradicating poverty within the country. But one major thing the government has to do, you can't create jobs as a government, and the private sector cannot confidently or conveniently create jobs if there is no enabling environment for that private sector to thrive. Now, we are looking at for private sector to have an enabling environment to drive to employ people. Now, they just remove the fuel subsidy, and the high cost of petrol, the high cost of PMS is biting. It's actually killing some of the small-scale businesses that has managed to create employment for people. So many people, so many of the citizens work in these small-scale businesses. By so doing, they earn from it, and earning from it, they use it to help themselves and their families.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
Yes, my name is John Paul from Owerri.
All right, John Paul. Go on.
My sister, the question I ask him is that when you see from the ministerial list, it's like just a kind of a recycling system. So, what do you think I can do? Just like just a paying back of what those that put in the system have done. Now, watch out the perspectives they are sharing. What are the perspectives? Many are crying. Here in the state, we are crying. How the perspective reach the poor masses that's supposed to get the perspective? I don't know.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. Let me get back to you now. My guest in the studio, Dr. Nwiado. Now, you've heard what some of them have mentioned, for those who were able to tell us what they think, right, that the government should focus on. They've mentioned power. Some other person mentioned the refineries, says if the refineries are working, it will lift the burden off the government. Another person says, if we have constant power supply, this job creation thing, don't worry. Private sector has got it covered. I remember I was speaking with... I spoke with some small business owners recently, and they were mentioning the same things, especially that power aspect. I spoke with a man who runs an ice cream shop, and he says, power is my problem. I'm spending a whole lot of money just to keep this business running, and he has staff that he's paying. So what do you make of their comments so far?
No, they are brilliant comments. They are all brilliant, especially those that deal with or mention power supply, regular power supply. Like, for instance, one of the sources of little, or what do you call it, small and medium scale businesses is buying and selling. Okay. Let's assume you are into ice cream formulation. If you don't have regular current supply or electricity, you are ruined. Most of what I saw being out of this place for several years is that there are small businesses that are so reliant on power. Like, if you are into providing sausage, you are a small firm running, you get some beef from the slaughter and use some machine to provide. When you finish, of course, you need to refrigerate it, and it's completely useless if you are not able to do that.
Even those of them who are into making of hair, the salons, the ones cutting hair and all of that, everyone, it's like everything depends on power supply.
Actually, the entire life of an economy, you wouldn't know until there was once that I recall there was one day, the downside of IT when it went down. That is, it was outage of IT. And the whole country was in turmoil because of IT not working. That is the internet. Now think of electricity not, you can just imagine it. So it is very correct to say that give us electricity and we will find our way. We don't need jobs from you. Some of these young guys can create a whole lot of money, much more than what they are paid as a regulated employee of any firm. I mean, any government thing. You go to the ministry, you are running as a messenger, how much they pay you. But if they take one haircut, it's 500 naira. So if you do one person, 2 person, 3 person, and they do some of them do up to 10,000, 15,000 naira a day in a busy area. So 2 days and then imagine a week, how much money you'll be making. And you pay the shop. That's probably a week job. So electricity is core.
Okay, there's one thing that they did not mention in this agenda, infrastructure. I mean, it's often a catalyst for economic growth, and it's not here on this agenda. What do you think?
I don't know what was going on in their mind. I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't speak for them. I wouldn't speak in their behalf.
Do you think they got that covered already?
Well, when they talk of physical policies, I mean, they talked about growing the economy, economic growth. Naturally, economic growth means provision of infrastructure. That's what economic growth means. Economic development is a different concept. But when you put up structures like what we had in Port Harcourt these days, you have the bridges and expanded roads, those are referred to as infrastructure. Okay,
let me just take a few messages here and then we run off now. It's just have to manage, what do you say? Government, it just have to manage its transportation business with adequate monitoring and punishment of delinquent staff who will want to defraud the establishment. Good afternoon, Constance. A man who is ready to work will do it and his work will do the talking. I wish federal government had just gone to work with those points without necessarily presenting them like a policy. We want performance, not promulgation of policies. Perform by action. All right, thank you. JT, that's your message. And then Isoboye Kingsley says, it's not as if the government does not know what to do to better the life of citizens, but they will end up doing nothing but talk and empty promises. Dr. Deebi, Nwiado, thank you so much for being on the show today. And that's it on Talking Figures. Remember, just to let you know that today's Talking Figures was produced by Chioma Ezenwafo. The news, Rivers Today, is up next, and afterwards, Kala Dakoru will come up with her facts. My name is Constance Mega. Thank you for listening.
To thrive in a fast-changing world.